I'm Betsy Passmore, and I'm voting no on funding the proposed new school building at the current North Intermediate School. The more I learn about this project, the more questions and issues I have. This overly expensive new construction would serve only half of Wilmington's elementary school children, but would cost the whole town a lot of money for the next several decades. In 2018, Wilmington formed the Facility Master Plan Committee, and in 2019, the group came up with a nearly 400-page Wilmington Facility Master Plan report, which you can actually download from the town website. In 2021, the 2019 study and the MSBA, that's the state's school building authority, those recommendations were used to create a presentation outlining different options. All of that is also downloadable from the website. The possible options include renovating and expanding existing school buildings, taking turns between those on the west and north sides of town so that updates would take place as quickly as possible. Even with inflation, these suggestions for repairs and funding still seem even-handed, carefully thought out, and reasonably priced. But at some point in 2024, all of these options were discarded in favor of, instead, building one large new school on fields behind the current North Intermediate, wetlands that flood with every heavy rainstorm, even without a 3-story building constructed on them. If this proposal is accepted at town meeting and by ballot, your taxes will go up, and not just by a tiny bit. Current estimates state that taxes on the average Wilmington home, about $700,000 value, will increase by at least 5% due to this one building project. That's about $500 yearly. But that doesn't include the fact that Wilmington's taxes go up 2.5% every year anyway. So we're really talking about an annual increase of over 7.5%, $750 for the next 30 years. There's another issue. This new construction is only one of many projects we have and will be funding through our property taxes, including in 10 or 15 years, another proposal for a similar school for the west side of town. Meanwhile, people living on the west side will already be paying an average of at least $500 a year more in property taxes to fund a school that their own children won't even get to benefit from at all. Think about that. If this proposal passes, fully half of Wilmington can look forward to nearly $50 a month increase in their property taxes for the next 30 years for just this one project. And in 10 or so years, they'll add a similar hike in their taxes if the promised school for their side of town is finally pipelined. Overall, this new construction plan is just plain too expensive, and it would provide space for fewer children, less than 800, at a greater cost, conservatively estimated at $173 million, than any other school in any other town in the state of Massachusetts. Meanwhile, Wilmington has been awarded much less in state funding than other towns in the state. $62 million sounds like a lot, but it's less than 40% of state funding, while other towns have gotten as much as 80% for their school projects. So why has Wilmington been awarded so little? One reason for the low funding is that this plan adds elements that the MSBA doesn't think are needed. For instance, this design for the so-called public section of the school, where the gymnasium and cafetorium are located, is larger and more elaborate than the state board suggests. And in case you, like me, were confused, cafetorium combines a dining area with a stage and flexible seating. So it's an auditorium as well as a cafeteria. The gymnasium in this proposed design is sized for a high school, not an elementary school, and the construction cost for this space alone is estimated at $7.5 million. The large gym seems to have been added for a public exercise space, and the MSBA excluded this area from funding because they don't consider such a large gym needed for 4 to 10-year-olds. The cafetorium, designed as a concert and theater venue, also seems to have been planned for local adults to enjoy a community exercise and entertainment space. Community centers are great, but this project is meant to be about making safe and accessible learning centers for Wilmington's pre-K to grade 5 children. Why then are we adding designs that cut our possibility for more state funding and exclude half of the town's children from getting their schools updated as soon as possible? There are other options for a community center, and there are cheaper and better options for updating our schools. Having a community center in the same space where little children should feel safe and secure as they learn and grow seems misleading and frankly creepy. I'm voting no on this proposal because I believe all of Wilmington's children have a right to learn in updated spaces as soon as possible at a cost that won't bankrupt their future right to remain in this town as adults should they wish. Please join me in voting no to this expensive and unnecessary funding proposal at the special town meeting on Saturday, September 13, and at the ballot box on Tuesday, September 16.